Hi everyone, it's, excuse me, not a great beginning. It's William with the 1921 Grand Duke Dmitri Diary series. My dog has a chew toy, which is good because it distracts him, but on the other hand, it makes a kind of obnoxious noise, so I apologize for that, but I had 5 false starts today because the dogs were so noisy, so this may be as good as it gets. If I didn't know better, I would almost think that Dmitri himself was trying to thwart the whole proceeding, but I'm going to assume that that is not the case. So, our recap for the long diary entry of the 31st of March, 1921. In the last section of that diary entry, Dmitri wrote just a little bit about Hungary and about the fact that the attempt of Charles I to return and claim the Hungarian throne had been thwarted, and that sort of was a disappointment to various monarchists, including apparently Dmitri. So our cast of characters today, we have 2 people that you've met before, but I'll just quickly say a word about them. Alexander Polovtsov, who was the older brother of Dmitri's close friend Pete, and Alexander Sasha was a very, very respected man in the emigration, very wealthy man of affairs, educated. He was the kind of person that you would go to for advice, or in the case of Dmitri, also for a loan. And financial assistance. He was the kind of person you would want on your board of directors, and you get the idea in general. And the other person or people, it's not clear whether Dmitri is talking about both of them or not, are the Chrysivolonis, so Jean and Sybil. And Jean came from a very, very wealthy banking family. He was Romanian, and he and his wife had taken a very benevolent attitude toward Maria and Gulia and Dmitri, and were helping them out with various things. Sybil Chrysivelloni had paid for the furniture for Dmitri's apartment, and Jean and Sybil were allowing Gulia and Maria to live in one of their buildings in an apartment that they owned, and trying to help Gulia with employment. Okay, so it is the eve of St. Valentine's Day as I do this, not in Dmitri's time, but in our own time. It's the 13th of February, 2025, and so if you're watching this on Valentine's Day, it will be very apt, because this is, if I was to choose a date, not 100% arbitrarily, to say this is when the relationship between Dmitri and Coco went beyond just being sort of friends with benefits to being a real relationship, a serious relationship. It was this day, because, really just because things were sort of cemented on this day. You'll see how. And so let's see, I was thinking back today about Dmitri's various relationships, the ones that I know about, going back all the way back to 1907, 1906. Well, he didn't have relationships then. He was interested in some girls, but, the diaries and letters going all the way back to 1906 and forward to 1921. And I would say that this was the first real passion. I mean, he had a passion as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old for Marie of Romania, but that, of course, was not really. She wasn't passionate about him, let's put it that way, and that created some complications because he really meant it. But anyway, aside from that, there were girlfriends. There was Vera Corrali. There were, he always had women in his life. He always had these, nowadays you would call them hookups or friends with benefits. And, some of them got to be close friends. But you don't see the real passions in the diaries up to this point with Coco. Okay, so here we go. It's the 16th of March, 1921. It's a Wednesday in Paris at 76 Rue Miro-Mesnil. Coco dropped by in the morning, and we went to Kellner together to look for a new car. She was now so taken with the idea of going to the Riviera that she wanted to buy a new convertible immediately. At Kellner, they were selling a wonderful Rolls convertible, which Coco, after a very brief inspection, bought. I lunched at Maria's and then went for a drive around Paris with Coco. Sasha Polovtsov came to see me at 7 o'clock, but he had a little bit of a stink face. Why, I don't know. Probably because I had been seeing less of him than before and consulting less with him. Naturally, he came to talk about Berlin, but since he didn't ask a single question, I myself didn't bring the topic up. The interview was rather a silly one, and we spoke of sweet nothingness all the time. I dined with Maria and Gulia in Versailles at the invitation of Crisavelloni. It was very nice. I got home around 10:30, after which I went to the Ritz, where Coco was dining. I stayed there for a while, then went home. I went to bed early. Okay, so I should say I don't want this to be anticlimactic for any of you, this whole romance with Coco, and you'll find out a lot about the activities that they did together. But one thing we don't have is we don't have Dmitri writing really passionately about her. Hopefully, and I haven't read all the way forward to refresh my memory, but I think in the next big diary entry, he will be talking about how he feels about her. But right now, of course, as I should have mentioned at the beginning, we are in the short entries, going back from the 31st all the way back to the 16th, and then going forward to the 30th, the short daily entries. And he's just not going to be writing in a passionate way in those diary entries. But you see how, he just can't stay away from her. Even though he had other obligations and she probably had other things that she needed to do, he's still, even at 10:30, he's still going to the Ritz and looking for her. He just, at this point, really needs to be with her. Okay, so, and it's rather funny, isn't it, that in this particular diary, he tries to use the English expression sweet nothings. It comes out sweet nothingness. And the irony being that he's using that phrase in relation to his conversation with Sasha Polovtsov and not with Coco. So he obviously misunderstood how that phrase is used in English, and he writes that whole sentence in English. The interview was rather a silly one, and we spoke of sweet nothingness all the time. That is completely in English. And he also wrote the expression stink face in English. I myself have never heard that one, but maybe in 1921 it was something that English-speaking people, and especially English people, used. I don't know. But anyway, he was not speaking either sweet nothingness or sweet nothings to Sasha Polovtsov. He just misunderstands that. Okay, Kellner, where they went to get this car, I gather, is actually, I'm a little confused, but it's definitely a thing. When I looked it up online, I saw that there were sites for Kellner, and it was unclear whether there was a kind of automobile called a Kellner, or Kellner was, somehow a person connected to fancy automobiles at that time period. So he must have had a big dealership, and they go there. And I don't know about you, but I have never once in my life gone to a car dealership with a person and have them, briefly look over a brand new expensive car and just say, okay, I'll take it, wrap it up, as it were. So that's pretty impressive. And I think even Dmitri at this point in his life was impressed by that. That, apparently Coco was kind of an impulsive person. I don't know that much about her, but when she decided to go to the south of France with him, she decided she was going to go. And she needed a Rolls-Royce convertible to drive around in while she was there. So she just went and bought this car. Wow. Okay, that's impressive. Although I don't believe that it's the car they were driving around Paris in when he says he had lunch at Maria's and then went for a drive around Paris with Coco. I could be wrong. I don't think it's that particular car because it seems to me from other diary entries that she picks it up a little later. They'll be leaving on the 22nd for the south of France, but between this diary entry, the 16th and the 22nd, they'll be making a road trip in the new car to Rouen. Anyway, meanwhile, as they say, let's see. Yeah, so that's really about it. You can see that Dmitri is not in this distressed mood that he was when he was writing the long diary entry of the 31st. And that always baffles me a little bit because he wasn't, of course, writing these in chronological order. He wasn't writing on the 16th of March about going and getting the car with Coco and being in a good mood because they're going to be going off together to the Riviera. No, he was writing this probably very shortly after the long diary entry of the 31st of March, in which he's talking about how distressed he was and how mentally exhausted and anguished he was over what had happened, and he really seemed to be. So it's weird how he could do that. But I don't know. That's one of the mysteries of Dmitri, I guess. So I think I've covered everything. I know there's something like an itch at the back of my head telling me, no, there's something important that you forgot. But, oh, I know, it's not that important, but the photograph that I'm attaching as a thumbnail to this particular video shows Dmitri and Coco. And Dmitri is sitting behind the wheel of a car, and Coco is standing on the, what do they call those? I can't remember, running board, something like that. And, you know, it's a very nice romantic picture. Each one has an arm around the other, and they look very happy. And Coco in particular, she looks, you know, she was, I think, around 10 years older than Dmitri, but she looks like a girl. And you know, she could be, yeah, like a teenage girl, and she just seems really happy. They both seem really happy, so it's nice in that respect. And they have a dog with them, and you'll find out there is a dog that, or a hypothetical dog that comes into the picture once they get to the south of France. So, yeah, anyway, what I'm trying to get at in my inarticulate way is that I don't know if the car in the photograph is the car that Coco bought in Paris on the 16th of March 1921 to go off to the Riviera with Dmitri. I don't know. If any of you know Rolls-Royce cars, you can maybe confirm to me whether it is one or not. But yeah, I'm very happy to have that photo. It goes perfectly with this, even if it's not quite the same car. And tomorrow's diary entry, what do we have next time? Well, in preparation for this trip that's coming up, even though he's keeping it a secret, Dmitri is meeting with various people, and it's not really a Coco day, although they see each other every day until they leave for the south of France. So, you know, you won't want to miss, I think, even the in-between ones at this point. So come back for that, and I will see you next time. Bye.